Okay. Please be seated in any comfortable posture. Eyes gently closed. Body straight and still. Total awareness of each inhalation and exhalation. Breathing in, fresh air. Breathing out, relax your whole body. Bring your awareness to the eyebrow center. Visualize a bright red rising sun in the eyebrow center. Become aware of the brightness, the shape, the color. I shall chant Om 3 times, then a Vedic hymn. If you wish to join, take a deep breath in. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavai Tejasvinoditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Hari Om Tat Sat. Bring your palms together, rub your palms. Feel the warmth in your palms, cross your fingers, fingers on the forehead, palms on your eyes. Then gently open your eyes. Okay. So before I begin, or let's say as I begin, let me answer your yesterday's question first about the book. You see, there are various ways of teaching. Just give me half a minute or less than half a minute. Yeah, I'm ready. Okay, just needed to, yeah. Okay, so, um, so one of the ways of teaching is, or one of the ways of learning for that reason is, you learn the words, you learn the meaning of the words, you learn the content behind it, and you go and teach. When you start teaching, the learning really begins. That is one way of teaching. That's a very crude way of teaching, but that is the way which is currently being largely followed. Another way of teaching is, which is the process, I learned through both the processes. So the other way of, I learned actually through 3 processes. The other way of teaching is, you talk about the subject in various ways, and you leave the student to contemplate on the topics and do his own research, cross-questioning, discussions, and then you learn the main body of the subject, the text, then you learn afterwards. So by that time, you have already attained a state of deep inquisitiveness and your own ideas have begun to form. So now whatever you learn actually only confirms a lot of what you have learned. So that is another way of learning. Another way of learning is you only study, chant the main body of the text. Every day you chant, you almost do it like a sadhana. And you are given different activities to do and you go and do those activities. You study also grammar side by side. And these three things slowly kind of meet up and you begin to see the meaning behind the words. So there are various ways of teaching. So in my case, what I was doing was, since I know that I won't be able to complete the whole text, I was literally following one of the ways through which I learned, where emphasis has to be given on what the text is talking about. Once that is drummed in, then you can, nowadays the books are there. So you can always read the books, you can read the meanings, and you can do that. Because 68 verses to complete in 2 or 3 days or 4 days is not very practical. We had completed just the word and the meanings and a small description. It took us, if I am not wrong, about 108 days, which was about, each day was almost 1.5, 2 hours of classes for 108 days. So it was a very long exercise. So what I was trying to do was just give you the content and leave you with the content. Because unfortunately, I'll be leaving soon. So, and I won't be in range of internet, so I won't be able to conduct it from anywhere. It will be only after 11th of next month that I will be more available. So now, what was the text I was using? I was not using any text. I was using the notes of my teachers. And the Sanskrit which was involved was the Sanskrit spoken by them. It was not even in books. Some of them are in some different books, sometimes from Bhagavad Gita, sometimes from what is it called, Ashtavakra Gita, sometimes from Mandukya Upanishad, but many times they are not there in any text. It was created by them. But today then since you brought up the book, I said, let me kind of go according to the book to some extent. So the text of Atmabodh starts with discussing the qualifications of the student. Not to discourage the student, but to explain what is essential, what must be the focus if one wants to understand the text of Atmabodh. Many people, you will be surprised, Atmabodh is one of the Prakarana Granthas or the ancillary texts, but many people, their whole life spent studying and teaching only Atmabodh. That is the importance of this text. In fact, my teacher told me, you will be only teaching Atmabodh. I do not know if that is going to happen or not, but that was what he had contemplated upon and he had suggested to me. And it so happened that I was given this topic and I decided to introduce the text. In one of the sessions, previous sessions, introductory sessions, I had explained the story of Indra. How Indra goes to his teacher and his teacher teaches him rituals. His teacher teaches him some karma yoga. He, so 3-4 times Indra goes because he's not able to comprehend the idea of Brahman. Finally, the teacher teaches him about Brahman. To understand any topic, to understand any subject, it is essential that our own orientation must be quite purified. Our own ideas and tendencies must be quite weakened. I mean, weakened is not the best word, mellowed. You can have ideas, you can have questions, but it must be more like curiosity, not something that forces you to reject or select things. And that is what Karma Yoga helps us to do. Many times people say in India particularly that all this Vedanta is for old people. I do not know whether it is for old people or not. I don't think it is for old people. But I can understand why it is said. Because as you grow older, your mind becomes much more calmer in many ways, and you are less judgmental. And this does not become, this is your main reason of study, but it does not become something that is life and death. You are committed to it, you are committed to thinking about it, you are committed to follow the idea, adopt it in your life, integrate it in your life, but at the same time, you are calm enough to observe whatever has been mentioned and contemplate upon it. It is essential that one develops the ability to discriminate the real from the unreal and also have a detachment towards the unreal. So in the text, for example, the words are conveying an idea. Words in themselves have a purpose. Words are not the end unto themselves. So it becomes necessary that we develop the ability to understand what the words are trying to convey and not get hung up on the words itself. And for this, there is a sixfold wealth of goodness, as it is called, which is shama, where we develop calmness within us, calmness of the mind, tranquility of the mind. When the intellect is sharp enough because it is not getting carried away by different ideas, different teachers having told different things, different religions having told different things. So one has to develop this tranquility of mind. Then you have Dhamma, which means developing an ability where the mind follows your instructions. The senses follow your instructions. If you want them to go in a certain direction, they go in that direction and give you the feedback and information that you are looking for. If you do not want them to go in a certain direction, they do not go in that direction. That is Dhamma. Titiksha is forbearance. It is the ability to endure something even if you don't like it. We have nowadays Karela, that's why it comes to my mind, bitter gourd in the ashram. And when I was a child, I never liked bitter gourd. It was bitter. But then I heard Gandhiji used to boil bitter gourd and drink the juice and eat bitter gourd. And I was like, and those days the way we were brought up was Gandhi was one of the great figures of this country. Even now, I have respect for him in many aspects. He has made his own mistakes, but that does not take away what he has given us. So we have to develop that ability. Usually a householder has this very strong, because he has to tolerate his spouse's behavior, spouse's choices, spouse's cooking, or whatever it may be. If it is a wife, she has to tolerate the man. If there's the man, she has to tolerate the wife. Both have their own realities. So titiksha develops a lot in a householder. A sannyasi has the choice of rejecting a lot of things and saying, I don't want it, go to hell, something like that. But a householder cannot afford to say that. He has to live with the realities. So ability to live with realities, the same relationship happens between the boss and the worker also. You have a boss, you have to live with that boss. You have the ability, you have to develop the ability to endure, even if you have been told something to do and you do not like to do. Because it is in the interests of the company, because it is in the interests of the team, so you carry on with it. It may be not of your liking, it may not be of your interest, but it has to be done, so you do it. Shama, Dama, Titiksha, and then Shraddha, devotion. Shraddha is to have great regards for something, even if you do not know about it fully. You may not know about Krishna a lot, but you slowly develop that Shraddha, the devotion. You try to develop an interest to know more about it. Having faith in yourself, for example, or having faith in your parents, or having faith in your students, having faith in the teachers, having faith in your own vehicle, all of these are examples of Shraddha, where you have the connectivity, but you do not know completely about it. Even Brahman, it is a concept, it's an idea. We need to have that faith that yes, it is true and it can take us from the life of bondage to the life of freedom. So that kind of feeling has to be there. Then there is a goodness of uparati, which implies that whatever you do, you enjoy. Many times people ask me, when are you going on leave? When I was working, I used to say I'm always on leave, because I really enjoy whatever I do. If I go on leave, basically I will do something that I enjoy. And I have this tendency that whatever I'm given, I end up enjoying it. I find ways in which it becomes very interesting for me. I start looking for information. I start using that means that I have in the process for helping others, and I really begin to enjoy it. So Uparati is another such quality that needs to be developed. And if we don't have this quality, the life will become miserable, and we will begin to think that, why was I born? Why did God create all of this world? All these questions come when you do not enjoy whatever you do. I sometimes look at Swamiji when he sits in this fire, between the fire and the pain that probably he goes through. Obviously, he finds something to enjoy about it, some experience in it. And that keeps him going. Otherwise, it would become impossible to continue. Another quality, which is the sixth quality of goodness, is contentment. Yesterday also I mentioned about it. A person who has contentment also has a deep sense of joy and satisfaction from deep within. And we can see in him a calmness that we all might like to have. There has to be a compelling sense of self-discovery. And when we have quietened our physical agitations through conscious and dedicated self-control, naturally a sense of calmness and calm mind comes in, which is not a victim to the desires and attachments that we have, which are now reduced to the minimum. We will go on the third verse. Avirodhataya karma na vidyam vinivartayet avidya vidyam nihanteva tejas timira sanghavat. In this verse, it has been emphasized. If you look at the words, it will look very contradictory to what I am going to say, or what I have said already yesterday. The words say that action cannot destroy ignorance, because action is not opposed to ignorance. Knowledge alone can destroy ignorance, as knowledge is represents light. Now the question arises, if the words of knowledge can destroy ignorance, it should be very easy. You pick up a mic, stand in the middle of the street, and speak the truth. There will be light everywhere, because everyone will have now heard the knowledge. But why doesn't it happen? And if action cannot destroy ignorance, action in this case is said not to destroy ignorance, because action happens due to ignorance. If we are ignorant, we try to do things. If you know something already, you know what is the reality. You don't have to do anything to understand that reality. If you look at, if you know, you see your father and you know that he's your father, you don't have to do anything to make him your father. You just need to know. You don't need to worship him. You don't need to, put incense sticks for him. You don't need to do anything. He's your father. That's the end of the whole story. Any question that way. Brahman is Brahman. You don't need to go and sing and dance that Brahman is supreme and Brahman is this and Brahman is that. No action is required. So what is the action which is being discussed here? I'll bring you back to the story of the Indra. When Indra goes to understand Brahman, Prajapati teaches him rituals. So there is a concept of yajna in Indian systems. Yajna is to help us understand again and again, remind us again and again that everything in this world has its own cycle of existence. And yajna helps us to be part of that, the rituals help us to be part of that cycle of existence. They are supposed to, at some stage or other, teach us or help us see the truth. But they do not always, they take us very close, but they do not always put us in a situation where we have seen the truth. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa was very, very devoted to Kali. He was doing the rituals perfectly. Everything was going fine. But whenever he reached a certain point, he would see Kali in front of him and he would totally go into ecstasy, and he wouldn't be so embroiled in that energy of ecstasy that he could never come out as a witness. His guru was able to help him to go through that experience. So here, when the action is mentioned, we have to understand where is Adi Guru Shankaracharya coming from. Adi Guru Shankaracharya is trying to tell the world, the country, and the culture, there's all these rituals that are there for which you are getting exploited. They are not going to help you get realized. They are a tool to understand certain truths. They are a tool to develop certain attitude. They are a tool to help you have a certain alignment with the reality. But to see that reality, you have to see in a different direction. There's a famous Bruce Lee saying, don't look at my finger, look at the moon. Look at the point where the finger is trying to show you. Look where the finger is pointed at. Something like that. Rituals are trying to take you to a certain point. They're showing you something. But if you're going to get too involved in the rituals, so involved that if that is not done, your day goes bad, then there is trouble. This water, Ganga water was not there today, so my ritual was got affected. Or when I was doing this, the cat came in and nibbled at the food before I had offered to God. All those things that happen, all of that is coming from a sense of ignorance. And the activity is also coming from a state of ignorance. Once you have the knowledge, once you have understood the knowledge, all these things become games and tools to take you to a certain state of being. So that is what Shankaracharya is trying to point at. Personally, from examples of life, I do not think he is against action or he is against Karma Yoga. And that is what people, Vedantis, try to point at. Unfortunately, most of the Vedantis and most of the monks come from a particular community, and since they have many times disciples coming from that community, they are unable to say this. Either they don't understand it or they don't say it. They extol the rituals, in fact. And they try to put down Karma Yoga. They try to put down austerities. Yes, it is true. All of them have the same purpose, to make our personality a mellowed, calm personality. And they are not truth unto themselves, but they are supposed to help us develop a personality which can see the truth. And once you have the knowledge, you do not have to make an effort to destroy any ignorance, because knowledge and ignorance cannot coexist. If I know it is 8 o'clock, I do not have to do anything to make it 8 o'clock.